What's up, TKO Nation? Welcome back to the TKO Podcast. Make sure you tune in.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to Technical Knockout, the MMA Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Jacob Estevez. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? What's going on? Y'all see we got the intro now? What's up, TKO Podcast? Like okay.
Yo, I'm going to ask you to add to that, too, if you want. I mean, it's up to you, but I want to get like a Sway style intro where it's like a bunch of fighters that I know like doing that. You know what I mean? And then I'll splice them together.
Like TKO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That'd be dope.
Up, bro.
Get the crust out your eye type shit, you know?
You're right. That's fire.
Well, welcome back, y'all. You know, I got my boy Jacob Estevez with us today. I've known Jake for a long time. Probably like close to 10 years now, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, we wrestled together in high school and rapped together after that, and now my boy's a fighter, and he's doing great. He's 5-0 right now, 6-0 if you count the kickboxing, if I'm not mistaken, or is it?
Yeah, I'm counting that.
Yeah, word. I didn't know if it was 5-0 including it or 6 with it.
How it goes, technically, like literally, if you was to say my record, it depends on what we're talking about. So if you say, oh, Jacob's an MMA fighter, I would say I'm 5-0 MMA. And if you just look at my kickboxing, I'm 1-0 kickboxing. But I just say in the total thing, I've had 6 fights. 6-0.
It's all combat sports experience, you know.
Sure.
And you're doing a fucking great job, dude. It's not like you're just winning these fights by holding guys down. You're beating them up, you know.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Yeah, bro. I mean, for me as a fan and as your friend, you know, it's nerve-wracking when I'm watching somebody I know take punishment, and you are really good at not getting hit. So it's been pretty good so far.
I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. You know, we're in the heavyweight division, so the first thing they always told me was, yo, you're a heavyweight. You know, one punch could make the difference. Boom, boom. So I absolutely prioritize myself on defense first. I approach it from a defensive mindset. And also, I've heard that the best fighters are defensive first fighters. And like I just said, defensively mindset. So, I ain't trying to be out there just getting into wars and all that. But, if it ever come, we do what we got to do. We're going to be all around regardless.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's nothing against brawlers or anything like that, but I do like to see a fighter prioritize their health and, fight smart, So you had a few fights now under the Flex Fight series. You had a few fights under a couple different other promotions. The last time you were out, you had a kickboxing match. It was some short notice change, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that fight would have been for Flex Fight Series. That was in April. That was a kickboxing fight that just came about, honestly, last minute. I didn't get matched up for anything. We wasn't on the card at all until maybe like 2 to 3 weeks before the event. Mm-hmm. That was because I had multiple fights get canceled. So that was my first time dealing with that. It's like the at the end of the day, I'm a baby still, and not so much when I'm a toddler, I guess, right? Well, I'm young in the sense of the game, so I had gone through my first time getting last minute cancellations. I had a fight lined up for January of 2025. Last minute got canceled. I had a fight lined up for February of 2025. Like when I say last minute, I'm talking like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Got canceled. And so at some point in April, I was just training. I had already had a fight lined up for June, or a rescheduling actually of the February fight. And brother, honestly, I said, oh wait, one of my training partners was on the April card, and I said, oh, I had completely forgotten that how do I say, that promotion was having an event, and I just threw my name out. Hey, brother, can we make some type of connection? And I said literally anything, because they said they didn't have an MMA fighter for me. So I said, brother, he threw out kickboxing. I said, all right, brother, I'll take it. I'll do anything. You feel me? What's up? So, it went well. That was my kickboxing debut, just to stay active, just to be able to, get all the positives from there. Hey, listen, my background is in wrestling, but okay, let's take that. What are we gonna do if wrestling isn't available?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was it should be a great experience, like to kind of just work with your hands and the feet too. But your hands got so much better, bro. Like, I mean, not that they were bad to start with, but I was shocked at seeing how much straighter your jab and straight were in that fight, like in the last fight in particular. So I was really excited to see you fight again this last couple weeks ago, but then unfortunately now you're nursing an injury, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. You know, I'm always working with my coaches on everything. But I will say that I have been placing a little bit more of I wouldn't say importance. You know, you gotta
Focus.
put your eggs in which basket. So I was at that time just focusing a lot more on my striking because I felt my grappling was a little bit too much better. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Where I was like, oh, you know what? As of right now, I'm just I'm all around, but I'm really trying to get it to the ground kind of vibe. So I wanted to be like, no, let's pick this up so we could really say we're all around. But yes, right now at the time I am nursing an injury. I injured my hand during sparring, training for this next fight. And yeah, this was going to be a big fight. Um, Me versus Igor Lakicevic, a fighter out of Virginia, I believe is where he's from. Yeah, it was definitely going to be a bang. Definitely going to be a bang. But right now I'm nursing my injury. I'll be out for about like I'm speculating probably the next 3 months, 3 to 4 months. I think the quickest you'll see me back in the ring would be October of this year, but maybe December is more likely. So I'm definitely trying to get back in by the end of 2025. But at the same time, I'm not gonna rush nothing. I'm gonna just focus on my recovery and all of that, and you know take my licks. This is my first injury in MMA,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only fueling me more. To be honest, I've had people, bro. It's, I had a worker, a coworker, tell me he sees my hand. He says, "Oh man, you know you banged it up." I say, "Yeah, you know that MMA." He knows I do MMA. I'm not even lying. This isn't to be nothing more dramatic. He says, "Oh well, you know you could just give up." Like he says it. He says it just like that. He's like, "You don't gotta like you know you could just give up, so you don't gotta keep being hurt." And I'm not lying with my response. I said, "Give up." I said that's not in my vocabulary. I swear, bro. So he looked at me like, oh yeah, whatever. You trying to be Superman, but I like, these people they don't get it, man. They don't get it. So at the end of the day, this is just an opportunity for me to go harder and go smarter. Probably more importantly, more efficient, and just prove myself. Like, all right, watch now. Watch when I get back. If you thought, oh, he's elevating from fight to fight to fight to fight. When he's healthy. Watch what I do when I got 3 months, what I mean, taken away from me. You
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna go get that back tenfold.
So, I mean, in this time off with the broken hand, obviously you can't spar or do any boxing or anything like that, but I'm sure you're able to get some kind of other training down. Are you working on like some strength and conditioning or just watching film, or how do you plan to make the most out of this time?
Right now, my number one priority is watching film. Is like I said, getting smarter because during this specific time period, I'm not able to work out too much and get sweat and all that into my cast.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not changeable right now, so I don't want to risk any bacteria
Yeah, of
infection and
course.
then make it worse. So right now, I'm two things actually is watching film, talking with my coaches, maybe a little about strategies, tactical approaches, and just literally watching and learning. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
going to trainings and I just watch. And I get a different vibe from that. It's like, oh, okay, I see it rather than be it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay, that's how coach is saying it. Okay, do it like this. Just a different angle.
Yeah.
Especially in fighting, the whole concept of fighting at an advanced level is all one angle change and the whole thing is different, right? So me being able to just be on the sideline and watch as of right now is doing good. Is what I need, is what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is actually my physical. I'm taking control of my diet. I want to be more on top of that. It's obviously if I'm just out here eating fried chicken, I'm gonna come back 3 months later, 30 pounds heavier. Like,
Yeah.
so I got to really be on top of it from that part. But for the most, if I can't get my physical right, I got to get my mental right. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's all we could
Absolutely.
do. That's all we could do.
Yeah, I mean it's important to stay busy in any facet. I know you like to get busy. I know.
Hey, hey, that's all we can do, brother.
Yeah. But speaking from personal experience, I like I said, I've known you for a long time. You've always had like a student mentality, which I think is super important in this game in particular. Fighting in general, but in MMA especially, feels like there's a lot of guys who can't be. I don't know how to explain this. Like, they're a little bit more stubborn, and they think like, oh, I'm the shit. I'm always gonna be the shit. Ain't nothing gonna get in my way. So it's kind of refreshing to be with somebody, talk with somebody who's more like a sponge, who's willing to learn more information, willing to admit that they were wrong, or see where they can grow. And that's the kind of mentality you need to get to the top in the sport. And I think that's where you're
Thank
gonna
you.
go, bro.
Thank you, bro. When I hear those types of compliments, like I said, oh, I'm a baby, I'm a toddler. But when I hear those types of compliments, yo, I'm telling you, you're gonna go to the top. I'm telling you, you're gonna be in the UFC. I'm telling you, it's like I get like I don't want to say emotional, but I get like my first initial reaction is like, bro, you sure? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you serious? You think so, bro? You think so?
I do think
Because
so, bro.
yo, and so
You got the
far.
mentality.
Yo, thank you, brother. So far, so good. And anybody that said, "Hey, you're gonna have this progress by this time," so far, I've either met it or surpassed it. So, I'm on trajectory, and right now, dealing with this is giving me a moment to step back and not reevaluate like I wasn't gonna
Yeah,
continue
yeah, yeah.
MMA after, but still reevaluate. Okay, you know what? After this, where can I go harder? Where can I be more consistent? Where can I be this and that? And I've always done that actually. To be honest, after each fight, I
Mhm.
said, okay, like I have to make a physical change so that I could be physically different for the next one. So a little tweak. Oh, you know what? Let me stay 5 minutes extra after this class, like purposely, like just for any, okay, let me show up 10 more minutes earlier than the 10 minutes earlier I was showing. Just do some work on this, work on that. So I'm honestly excited to see what I become when I get back and what I can showcase when I get back. And moving forward, this is just a blip in the whole,
Yeah,
grand scheme of things. This ain't nothing. Soon we'll be going professional. Soon we'll be in the league. Soon we'll be the champ.
100%, dog. I believe you.
Thank you, bro.
So let's step back a little bit. Let's talk about
Sure.
how you got into the sport. So what got you into MMA in the first place? Was it wrestling your first experience training? Were you a fan of the sport before then? Did you watch like boxing growing up or anything? Like, how'd you get into combat sports?
I'll say completely average mix of all of those. I watch boxing a little bit, sure, just as a fan of boxing. Never thought about being a boxer. I did enjoy the sport of UFC, but not from the perspective of just completely average.
Hmm.
The super duper honest truth, and like I've told the story a few times, and like I said, it's almost like I'm a little bit embarrassed, but the super honest truth is I was playing the video game, the UFC 4, I believe at the time was. I was in college, and I was on the wrestling team, and I was doing decent at the game,
Hmm.
and I said, "Yo, you know what? I'm doing decent at the game." I looked over to my right to my bro Samson. I said, "Yo, Sam, you think I could do this in real life?" And that's how the first seed was planted
Hmm.
of like, hey, that I'm wrestling. I'm pretty sure it's got to translate to actual fighting. They always
Hmm.
say wrestlers is a great background. Oh, that'd be pretty cool. Ha ha ha. Like that's as far as I could go. I literally, no, literally, it was just a random thought. But that's the truth of when they say how did this get started.
Hmm.
I was doing decent at the video game, and you know what? I think I had heard. I had seen this video actually of Max Holloway
Hmm.
saying that he tries out combos that he does in the game in real life, or vice versa.
Yeah, I was just
So
gonna bring that up.
So I think when I had seen that, sometime later I had played the game and was like, Max Holloway said he does that. Like so he says he goes from the game to real life and it works. So why couldn't it be me? But that was the very first seed planted. But I didn't make a move on that until years later because football was my passion. I was
Hmm.
chasing that to go first. Like I said, I was in college. I was getting some scouting looks, doing my thing to be able to go to the NFL. I ended up getting hurt.
Mm.
When I got hurt, took me out for some time. I graduated, but I still was pursuing my NFL dreams. So I went overseas to play. And overseas, I'm living alone as an American. I'm just doing my thing. I'm playing football, but you do have a decent amount of free time. All you do is you play ball and, you have your crib. So when I would go back home, I would say, you know what? Let me get into boxing. I chose boxing because I felt, oh, you know what? I'm not gonna lose too much weight, and I don't have to dedicate myself too much. So I just chose the nearest gym that was to me. I was in Australia at this time, and I just chose any random like CKO boxing gym. I still got my first ever pair of boxing gloves with me. I'm never throwing those out as memorabilia.
Hell yeah.
So long story short, I just signed up for that, brother. I was just doing boxing just on my own time. I left from there. I moved to France. This is maybe so I was there for maybe like 5-6 months. I'm boxing there, and I end up training in Nice Boxing Squad, which is the gym of Manon Firo.
Yeah.
She just fought Valentina Shevchenko. I end up completely accidentally I went to this same thing. I'm just trying to sign up for like a CKO boxing gym. I ask the lady, hey, I'm trying to sign up. And she asked me, for whatever reasons that she asked me, she says, are you trying to do this for fun or for serious? And for whatever reason I said for serious. Brother, and this was the first day that I landed in France. Like I landed, I got my stuff. I believe I landed on a Monday. And he said our first practice is on Wednesday. And I said, I bet. Tuesday morning, I was looking for the gym. And she told me, okay, if you're looking to get serious, it's over there. Gave me the directions. I called up, and I ended up all he wanted to know. He said, okay, what's your background? I said, bro, I wrestled a little bit. That's all I said. I wrestled some in college. He wanted to know my weight. I was like 315 pounds at the time. And he wanted to know if I could spar right now. And I said, yeah, I could spar right now. And I just pulled up. I started sparring, got beat up a little bit,
Naturally.
had a good day. Hey.
That's part of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I ended up, I was sparring with this gentleman named Shofian Bukachu. He's a professional fighter, professional heavyweight fighter out there in France. I believe he's from Algeria. But I ended up sparring with him. He actually had a fight with Tom Aspinall.
Oh shit.
And yeah. In I believe 2018. In 2018, I know he fought Tom Aspinall, but he lost due to injury. He got that that Chris Weidman injury, like where you kick the leg. Like, yeah.
Woof.
He got that snap leg injury. It was like in the first round. I was like, oof. But I ended up sparring with him, and I stayed at that gym for about a month. But it was just too high level for me to stay there.
Yeah. I mean, you
It
were
was
fresh off the street.
Yeah, bro. Basically was a street beefs fighter, and that's no disrespect to them. But in comparison to them, like these,
Yeah, I understand.
I didn't have no jujitsu at all. I didn't have when I've wrestled, yes, but I haven't wrestled in like 5 years. Like I wrestled years ago, and I was just boxing. It's awesome though, brother. The humble beginnings. Like I remember thinking, okay, I want to be the best. So who's the best boxer? Floyd Mayweather. So all my boxing videos, I just looked up like, okay, how to box like Floyd Mayweather, how to shadow box, this and that, and like that's how I was thinking. I wasn't thinking, okay, who's the best heavyweight? I was like, no, who's the best, regardless, because your skill is gonna translate regardless. If I could be the best, and I'm the heavyweight, oh, now we talking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Nah, I'm rambling. Forgive me.
no, you're good. No, I remember when we wrestled together in high school. I was always like remarked that if you're heavyweight wrestling, there's a lot of like upper body clinches and stuff like that. But I always remember thinking that you have little guy wrestling as a big man, and that's that's what gets people. Like, so to hear that you kind of translated that to your boxing approach too, it makes all the sense in the world. Because watching that last kickboxing fight, my boy was throwing crispy jabs. I was like, all right, let's go.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, that's that lighter man skill. I always looked at it like that, brother. Even if it was kind of a weird approach, I just looked at it. Listen, I just want to know who's the best. So if you're telling me that this is a game of skill, it's not just a game of
Power.
fee fi fo fum.
Yeah.
then what am I worried about that you have all that power? You know what I mean? I like some funny that I say at the gym is, he could have all the power in the world, but what good is it if he can't hit me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So to me, on the hierarchy of things, I almost place like accuracy above power. Because if you can't hit me, I can't get knocked out.
Yeah.
So to tail it to that story, brother, I'm talking about I was in that MMA gym just Philly shelled up, like just and yeah. So I was there for like about 1 month, but I had to leave because listen, it was just too high level. I still had football practice. I'm showing up to football practice with bruises on my face, tired, and it's like I still got to go. Like I said, practice, lift, and film. I was
Hmm.
doing this in my off time, but it was too much. But I knew from the moment that I left, literally, like I said, I'm gonna be back here in what capacity I don't know, but I'm gonna do this again.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, like 6, 7 months later, I ended up at Culture Fight Club when I was back in America in my free agency. One story led to another. I actually got that connection through Dylan Dennis and my brother, and we ended up doing that. And here we are about 2 years later. Now we're about 2 years later. At the time of our first interview, it was only like 7 months in.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah, a lot's changed, I mean, you've gotten, heaps better, and I think you're going to keep improving. I mean, the experience is something that will teach you, you know what I mean? So it's not like a surprise, but it also helps to have great coaches, which you do have. The Culture Fight Club is like a great family, and I keep watching the guys just keep racking up wins. Marcel and Munch and all these guys just killing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So to
Mantra,
put
yeah,
you on
Mantra
the
Kara, Mantra, the new era Kara, he just got signed to the UFC.
yeah.
So we like yeah, but I got so lucky. I can't even tell you like lucky, blessed, all that. Like, what are the odds that a premier gym like that is a mile away from my house? You know what I mean? Like it could have just been anything. It could have just been a CKO gym, and I would have been like, okay, cool. And there's no problem with CKO. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well, everybody
Come,
has different
come,
goals and
come,
aspirations.
give me a sponsor if you want to
Yeah.
do that. You know what I'm saying? But for my goals and for what I needed, it's like wow. I'm really in the most optimal place I could be right now. So
Right place, right
it's
time, man.
right place, right time, bro.
And, I mean, you're putting in the work in the gaps. Like there's gonna be luck and things that happen at the right place and right time, but putting in the work and constantly improving and being on the path of like I want to be the best I can be, that's gonna put you in that place even more often. So
Yeah, brother, you can't overlook that. The grind, the effort of it. It can't be. It's not gonna be overshadowed. It's not. It's not possible, bro. Like when your work is consistent, the progress is inevitable. They gonna see. They don't know right now, but that's all right. They don't have to know. They will. You
they're
feel
gonna
me?
find out soon.
That's a fact.
I want to talk about some of the fights that you've had
Tell
leading
me.
up to this last cancellation and stuff.
Yes, sir.
First off, I was there for a couple of the fights of any time that I'm able to make it out to one I come, but
Nice.
I saw you fought this gentleman John Harris twice now. There was
Yes,
once
sir.
it was one of your first fights, and you wrestled him and got to the Americana. I think it was. It was Americana
Yes,
or
sir.
Kimura.
That was my very first fight, April of 2024.
And then there was like a short notice replacement. And
Yeah.
tell me about how that happened. That you ended up fighting
Well,
him again.
so how that happened, I ended up fighting him again. I was matched up with this one gentleman, Devontae Parker, something like this. It was Devontae Crawford, something like that. I
That
was
sounds
I was
right.
matched up with him. It don't matter, but I was matched up with him. We had a last minute. This was actually my first ever cancellation. Prior to that, I had 4 fights. They went off without a hitch. You're gonna fight Johnny on Saturday. Do the weigh-in. You fight Johnny on Saturday. No problems at all. But for my 5th fight, this is my second title fight. The gentleman had, I got the report that hey, he got injured. This is like the Thursday before the fight. I said, damn, okay, it's gonna be canceled. And that's just how John came about. They said, listen, we have another opponent for you. Um, obviously, I'd already, fought him. I'd already defeated him. And I accepted it just on the basis of, you know what?
Any
I
work
got
is good
opportunity.
work.
Yeah, listen, I got opportunity to get my second title. It's either this or don't fight. Because that's what I was being told. It's like, listen, it's too short notice as of right now. We got this for you or we got nothing. And you know what? I looked at it. I tried to take the positives from I won't say the negative, right? No point in disrespecting nobody, but I try to take the positives from that. I say, you know what, this will be my first time rematching somebody.
Hmm.
I've never fought somebody twice. This will be my first time from the throes of rematching somebody. Okay, possibly applying a different game plan or seeing how somebody would approach me. You know what's funny, and that's actually exactly what happened. I was thinking, I said, what would I do if I was him fighting me? I said I probably would not try to go to the ground because I know how that went, and I felt the control and the diff. I said I probably would try to come out swinging,
Yeah.
like just be like, listen, I got to knock him out. That's it, and that's what he tried to do. And so again, I try to take the positives from that. I say, you know what, let's go about this. Let's go over this, not speed bump, but just get through
Hurdle.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, hurdle, and let's get on to the next one. And it is what it is. And it just so happened that I had run into the string of cancellations. But after that, I had it planned to fight January and February, barring any injuries.
Hmm.
March, April, you know me, brother. At that time, I had 4 fights, or I had 4 fights in 5 months.
Yeah.
So you know how I do it. Listen, if I'm
Yeah.
not getting
Different.
hurt, if I'm not getting hurt and I'm learning, a bruise is not gonna stop me. Book the fight. You know what I mean? Like I'm on the
Yeah.
way. Um,
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating. I mean, I'm happy that you mentioned it because you had a completely different approach in the second one. Like,
yeah.
I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, he wants to fucking knock him out now. Like, he submitted him, now he wants to knock him out. Like, and he
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
did it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I definitely had a different approach for that one. More so the reason why was I was a different fighter.
Yeah.
Now even 6 months later, I was thinking differently. I was more importantly, I was seeing differently.
Mm.
So it was like, oh wow, and in that moment, I was registering. Oh my goodness, I'm seeing way more openings than in the very first fight.
Hmm.
In the very first fight, for regardless of who you are, it's almost like kind of like rock'em sock'em. Almost.
Yeah.
You're just like, all
I'm
right.
sure it's scary, you know?
You're like, all right, I'm gonna throw the at least me. My very first thought, I think he went for like two, three calf kicks. I was like, all right, that's nothing, that's nothing. And I remember telling myself, all right, let's go. And I threw my 1-2. And now this one is much more different. There's less, I'll call it like blank space, and it's less like just and
Hmm.
we're moving around. And even then, 5 months later to my next fight, I'm seeing way more different things. So literally, brother, every fight I feel I've been elevating, I've been doing something differently to move more efficiently.
Yeah.
I think I think efficiency is is the best trait that a fighter could have. Moving, moving smart, moving intelligently, making smart decisions, and conserving energy, et cetera, as it goes on.
I'm right here with you, bro, and I'm really happy to hear you say that kind of stuff because I think it's not any controversy now because John Jones retired, but Tom Aspinall is the best heavyweight in the world. And if you want to
Right,
talk about somebody who has a super efficient style,
right,
that's Tom Aspinall. Like he's throwing tight combinations, crispy, bouncing
right.
in and out. You know what I mean? And then when he gets to the grappling, it's like he's not looking. I mean, we're talking about a guy with the shortest average fight time in UFC history. If that's
Yeah,
not efficient, then what is? So I
exactly.
I mean, I see the way that you're moving, bro, and I'm fucking excited to see where you go because that last fight, just between the two, the second John Harris fight and this
Yes,
last
sir.
kickboxing fight, I saw a marked improvement in your striking. So I'm pumped to
Thanks.
see how you come back from the injury, and I obviously don't rush it, but whenever you do
I
come
don't know.
back, I'm pumped to see even more growth.
No, yeah, and thank you for your support, bro. Whether you're there physically or not, I always know, it's that's very comforting to know, people genuinely rock with you. You have genuine supporters. I ain't gonna say fans and all that, but people that got love, and it's like wow, like people that can see the progression from the beginning to the end. Like the Huss was there from the beginning, from before, from the long Middle Earth before. Like
Yeah.
you feel me?
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here, bro. I'm happy to see you do your thing and grow, bro. I want to talk about the fight you had. I think it was before the second John Harris fight.
Yes, sir.
Um, if I'm not mistaken, I might be getting the timeline mixed up,
There
but
you go,
it
brother.
was
That would before that one. That would have been September. That would have been against That would have been for Flex Fight Series. That was my first championship fight.
it ended in the third round. That's the fight
Yes,
I want
sir.
to talk
That
about.
that ended third round TKO.
That shit was sick, dude. That was a great fight. Like I was watching that fight with my brother Hassan.
Yeah,
He was produced for us when we were rapping
that's
in
a
high
fact.
school. But yeah, we were. It's first off, just to let you know, it is incredibly nerve wracking, and I'm sure you do know from watching your teammates fight. But it's so nerve wracking watching somebody fight. And we were watching you fight this dude who was like just as big as you, and we were like, "Fuck!" Like this guy looks like he's a
He
tough
said, "Fuck."
customer, you know. And then you got the takedowns on him. You were beating him up. Second round, he started to get some success in the striking, and then the third round, bro, you got this fucking huge slam, and we lost our shit. Like it was crazy. Like picked him up like a baby, like a sack of potatoes, like DC single leg high crotch style, and slammed him in the middle of the fucking ring, dude. I was so hyped, bro. It was awesome. It was so sick.
Thank you.
And then you got the TKO like not too long after that, just from
Thank
the
you.
ground strikes, I think. How was it your first time fighting in the third round, first time facing adversity? I mean, even still now, I mean, the kickboxing fight, the guy was pretty sharp too, but I think that was really your first time facing some resistance, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
No, 100%. That was my toughest fight at that time. That was so you could say my toughest fight to date.
Mhm.
And respect to that guy. Respect to my opponent. His name is Deshaun White.
Mhm.
At that time, and I viewed it as I was expecting that. Where at that time I was 3-0,
Yeah.
and he was 2-0.
Yeah.
So both, somebody's has got to go. So I was looking at it like that, like, oh, okay, let me see. I seen some film on him. I said, oh, okay. He was bigger than I had thought. He was like 6'5", maybe.
Yeah, he was a big motherfucker, dude.
He was a big dude. He was big old, like 6'5", 260. No, I think 250 anyways, whatever. And, going into the fight though, whatever, all that stuff is neither here nor there. I fought somebody who's 6'9". I fought somebody who's 5'7". Like,
Mhm.
he was just another 6'5", like, light skin. Like, it don't matter to me. Like, so, when we went into that fight, I'm going to be honest. I think at that time, you know, my skills wasn't sharp enough to be able to see what I needed to see, the openings, right? As far as in my stand up. But this is where the wrestling and the grappling is like, yo, you skip levels. I think I was able to take it to him with the grappling and the cardio and almost just like kind of out tough him. Almost out I don't want to say out muscle him, but
But
out
like
like,
outdog him.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I could deal with that. Is that it? And then once you start to fade, I'm on it. And as far as with the slam, no, that's anybody could get that type of work, bro. No, I'm gonna be honest. No, I'm gonna be honest. No, I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm like me.
I do.
Okay, yeah. Let's market ourselves. Let's market ourselves. Me, I'm gonna market myself with the truth.
Yeah.
Like that's anybody. It don't matter you 6'9". It don't matter you 6'1". It don't matter if you 265.9. And obviously, it ain't gonna matter if you less than that. Like, bro, I slam anybody like that, bro. Like this baby
Bro,
weight.
I know.
Cause you gotta right. Cause you gotta. I had people telling me, yo, how you slam him like that? He 260. Boom, boom, boom. I said 260. That's light as that. I'm coming from football.
Yeah.
I was 315 pounds. Like, so listen, 260 is light. So these guys, I know they can only get their weight up to a certain,
Yeah.
decimal point. But nah, these guys gonna have to get their weight up if they don't want me to grab them and yoke them like that. That's, I'm just being honest.
It's the technique too, though. I remember you slamming dudes like that in fucking high school. So
And you
it's
know
like,
what? But in high school, I was more of just like a brawler. Like same thing. I was kind of outdog guys. Okay, listen, whatever. And who would beat me? Would be somebody technical. Would
Yeah.
be somebody more efficient, right? And at the time, with a young mind, it's like, oh, duh, whatever. He was just better than me. But I'm not registering. Okay, why? And then answer
get
that
there.
question.
Yeah.
So like I said, now is it's about being efficient, and now I'm answering those questions. There was a few moments in that fight I could have slammed him, but I
Mhm.
wasn't being efficient. I would just try to pick him up and muscle him, and I get tired. Oh man, it just happened. Thankfully I got my coaches in my corner. I got my people in the stands, and I got my heart and my mind and my body, and it's like, okay, boom, I'm gonna make it through this, but I could also be making something more difficult than I need to be,
Mhm.
And as we face better opponents, that's not going to be able to fly all the time. I don't want to. I'm not just some NPC heavyweight, overhand. Like I'm not. No, bro. I'm telling you,
NPC is
brother.
crazy.
Bro, come on. We see some of these
I
fighters,
know
like,
exactly what you
and
mean,
that's
bro.
no disrespect to nobody, right? Because anybody who's at a higher level than me can, guess what? Say, I'm an NPC, but I'm at a higher level than you. Okay, and I'm gonna say, yeah, but you an NPC.
Yeah, yeah.
So you gonna stay where you stay, and I'm gonna go where I go, and then just give it time. You know what I'm saying? That's why if the fight was 10 seconds, it'd be about who has the best overhand.
Yeah.
Well, but we got 15 minutes if I let it go that far.
Yeah.
So just chill. We on the way.
Yeah, it's a different game, and that patience is something that's going to pay out. I mean, it already has, but it's going to keep paying out in dividends because,
Thank you.
you know how it is. You've been in there, and I've seen your like your nerves, your look change with the more experience that you've gotten now.
Yo,
Like first
100%,
couple
bro.
fights, and this is for any fighter, but the first couple fights, it's almost like a little bit of a panic. Like you
Yeah.
have to kind of find your footing in the fire, and then compare that to that fight you had with Deshaun White or the fight that you just had with in the kickboxing, and it's like I see your vision, I see you watching and knowing what's happening and kind of being a lot more calm and present in the cage, and that's like incredibly different. That's gonna keep, that's something that comfortability is gonna keep growing.
Yeah, it makes waves. It makes waves, and I can't. All that credit goes to my coach Richie, goes to my coach Roman, and goes to my guys in the gym, man, Shakira, Marcel, Yakim, all the guys whether that I could name and that I can't name because they was only there for one day, but they don't even know how much they helped me improve that one day. Like, oh, okay, all right, bet. So although I'm at the helm of the operation, I can't deny that it's a team behind the scenes.
Of course, takes a village.
Yo, it definitely takes a village, bro. That's a funny saying.
Yeah, yeah. The kickboxing fight I want to talk about a little bit now. So I mean, you had, like I said, you fought John Harris twice. Second fight, you had a much more striking forward approaching. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you shot for any takedowns in that second fight with him.
In the John Harris one, you know what I did to get nitty gritty. I did throw one committed fake, is what I would call it.
Mm,
Like I went in as if I was going for it, and if I would have gotten it, I probably would have let him think he defended it, or maybe I would have taken him down and got back up. But I went deep into one and then came back out.
disengaged.
Pause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy.
No, but then the kickboxing fight, it was like this is some good experience to get on the feet, and the guy was pretty slick. He was landing some good kicks and stuff like that. How was it fighting? For me, it looked like the highest level striker you fought to that point. Was that your experience, and did you
You know,
learn anything? How was it being in there with that guy?
you know what? When I was in there, I felt he was trying to push the pace a lot. He was being very aggressive. I felt as though he put me in a state mentally where I needed to be on my P's and Q's,
Hmm.
because he was throwing, okay, one overhand to the next kick to this and that. But it wasn't anything that I think we wasn't prepared for. The most interesting thing, I thought he would have a better gas tank. I thought it was gonna be one of those fights like, okay, we're gonna have to go to the distance. I'm gonna have to jab, jab, move, because I had the reach advantage, etc. But we was able to get him out of there with some body shots. We was layering that work, and at first
Hmm.
he had a good poker face. I didn't register that the body shots were as effective as they were. But then being able to drop him, it's unfortunate. I know he tried to play it off like it was a low blow
Oh, I
TKO.
forgot about that. Yeah, that wasn't
Yeah,
a
yeah,
low
yeah.
blow. Yeah, I was watching
Well,
that shit live, and I was like, oh, that was right to the breadbasket, and then he
that's
got
it.
hurt.
That's what I thought. I felt body. I didn't feel no cut material. And then again, me, bro. I'll tell the truth. Like I'll be like, yo, you know what? Yeah, I clipped him. Boom. Oh, damn, it's a TK. It's a no contest. All right, no problem. Nah, when I hit him, I said, boom. All right, that was a good one. Oh, he's hurt. Okay, bet. And then shout out to him. I mean, shout out to me that I'm a nice guy because the referee counted him for the 8 and then said, all right, go get him. But he was keeled over. I wasn't gonna do it to him, but and I said that's how it went. That fight, I feel like neither here nor there. Almost like because of that moment, it's like yo,
Mm,
when you try to take away those when you was faking the nut shot. It's like yo, you trying to take away the moment from me of what it
yeah.
is. Is it's like why you trying to do that? Like you just seen that fight with what's my man Paul Craig and is it Rodolfo?
Yeah, Bellato, yeah.
He up kicked him and everybody's like, yo, did he fake it? And he's like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like yo, come on,
Yeah,
gang, why
no,
you
that
doing
shit
that?
was weird, bro. Like,
Why you doing
he
that?
looked
So
at the ref and then he was like, oh.
yeah, he said, and then he woke up to,
Yo, that shit was
why you
wild,
doing
bro.
that?
It
Like,
was
so now you
embarrassing.
make it, yeah, you making, yeah, everybody's like embarrassed to be in here now because it's like, yo, we fighters, but you know, so at one part of me, I don't get it. It's like, come on, but another part of me, shit, I do get it. You know, when you hear that cage lock clink, and you see you in there with who you in there with, you like, I don't know if I'm really trying to do all that. Like, so
Yeah.
you start looking for a way out. You know that.
Because you landed a
Oh,
few body shots before that point that hurt him.
that's
Like,
what I'm saying. I didn't necessarily register that. I was like, okay, that landed, but you know, he wasn't like, ugh, you know, anything like that. So, you know, a lot, these fighters, bro, just cause people can fight and they fighters and they put on gloves and that don't make them tough. You know what I mean? It make them good at fighting. You know, but you could be good at fighting and not have a certain mindset where you need to be like mentally, you know, enduring.
only good
And
when you're being the hammer kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. You good when you good, but
Hmm.
what now? What about exactly like good when you the hammer? What about when for just a moment, you know things is different. You want just a moment, you on bottom, right? Just a moment, you're back to the wall, you're back to
Yeah.
the cage. You start to see these fighters crack, and it's like I attribute that if we just talking about in the physical realm, not about whatever that says about your mental. In the physical realm, half of that is probably because of how you're training. A
Yeah.
lot of guys are just training. Okay, I'm winning, and then I'm winning, and then I'm winning, and then I finish. It's
Mm.
like, where is the reality in that of, hey, you know, there's going to be a situation where this is resistance, this is pushback. You know, these guys are training for, you're training for the amateurs, you're not training for the pros. And that's been the biggest thing that I could say about my gym is we always been training on like that upward.
Going
I don't
for
know if
pros.
vision is the word. Yeah, that trajectory. Hey, listen, I'm not training for whatever amateur etc. right now. I'm training for, hey, this is a UFC level fighter you're gonna face. So when I'm there, I perform and I move on. And
Yep.
then we training for higher level stuff, bro. Higher levels at Culture Fight Club is higher level stuff, bro. Promise you.
The professionalism shines through. You can see it. You know, you can see it in the performances. You can see the discipline. You can see the focus. You know,
Thank you.
and I think that is a big difference between culture and other gyms. At least in this amateur circuit that I've seen.
Thank you.
Some of these gyms, I remember going to one of your. It was like it was like a bunch of culture guys on the card versus another team essentially, but I remember thinking that
Mhm.
the other team was like really trying to convince themselves, no shade towards them or anything, but it seemed like they were trying to convince themselves that they were that, that they were those guys, but you guys like, oh, we already know, you know what I mean, like we're just here to
Right.
prove it, but regardless of that, I think you're building up the lore. You know what I mean? Like this amateur career you have so far has got a lot of really interesting tidbits, a lot of lore that's building, and I think it's given you a lot of great experience in these first 6 fights. That when you get to the pros, when you start racking up those wins and those fights at the pro level, I think it's gonna be really good to have this kind of stuff in your back pocket. Like you fought one guy twice
100%.
already, you got a rematch. You fought him in 2 different styles. You fought a guy who pretended that you grabbed his shorts and then he threw up on the floor. Like that shit was ridiculous.
Yo,
Like
yo,
that was
that was the
crazy.
fight. The last time we did the interview, that was well, my next fight is in Jersey. Yeah, he freaking threw up. That's crazy. I
Yeah, yeah.
hated that, and I hated that on my name, bro. I was
I
like,
think I was
whereas
there. Yeah, I'm
that's
pretty
the
sure
one
I
you
was
just
there.
said,
Yeah.
culture versus like the
Yeah,
world.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was at that one.
exactly. Yeah.
Where I'm like, yo, when you look up my name, that's gonna say winner by
TKO vomit.
what?
Yeah.
TKO vomit, and Jim Miller is the like the
Yeah, you
not
did
the
the
announcer.
interview. That was
Yeah,
sick.
he did the interview and he said, I've never seen it. If Jim Miller said, I've never seen that,
Bro has the
it's
most
either,
fights in UFC history. Like
yeah, if Jim Miller never seen what just happened, it's either lit or that was weak. I said, no way, bro.
it's all
And
right.
and
It's not your fault.
that's exactly how I felt when bro did when for the kickboxing when bro
Yeah.
faked it. I
Yeah.
said, yo, they're gonna look at my record and see I got 2 nutshot wins.
No, stop.
I said, yo, they gonna play with my name, bro. And so, I looked at that as like, because at the end of the day, it takes two to tango, right?
Yeah, of
I can
course.
only perform as almost you could say as well as my opponent allows me to, right? He's
Yeah.
gonna try to give me resistance. And if he's doing it, if we're doing our big one, resisting each other, is gonna be a good fight. And even in that good fight, if I'm not able to just fucking overhand, take your head off, okay,
Hmm.
now I got to perform. I got to really set things up. And
Yeah.
the average to advanced person is going to be able to see, oh, this is a good fight. He's setting things up, boom, 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 and that's how you showcase your skill.
Hmm.
But I need my partner to be,
Need a willing dance partner. Yeah, if he's gonna
I
go down
need.
from the first jab, then you're not gonna be able to set up
Then
the
it's like,
straight.
what are we doing here? You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying? But
exactly.
I take the positives with the negatives. Hey, listen, if I'm in there with somebody who is like, yo, Jake, he shouldn't be in there with you. I'm gonna treat that as such. He shouldn't be in there with me. This fight has to be 10 seconds or less. Like get him out.
Yeah.
And then if I'm in there with somebody who's quality, okay, now I'm trying to do my thing. I'm trying to come out on top. You
And
know what I
that's the
mean?
other side. So I mean, you had the TKO from the vomit. You had the two fights against John Harris where you beat him in two different ways.
Mhm.
And then you had a couple of tough fights. You had the fight
Right.
against Bro, who was 6'9". I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name. I think it was
Yes, sir.
Malcolm.
This Malcolm
Uh,
Too Tall Hunter. Shout out to him.
yeah, bro was huge, and you had to fight some adversity in that fight too. I think that was really your first time going to the second round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
And then you got the TKO from the body shots, and then now you got this other fight with Deshaun White where you had to go through some adversity and then get that huge slam in the third. Oh my god, dude, that shit was sick.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Shout
now
out
the
to shout out to
TKO
him.
and the kickboxing, like this is great experience that you're building, great lore that you're building, and to be frank, it's better that you've had some kind of weird bumps in the road and some like strange endings to the fights rather than just cleaning dudes out in 30 minutes or 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah,
this is giving you some good experience and you're going to keep learning and keep growing. And I'm excited to
I
see where it
agree.
takes you, bro.
I agree, brother. I agree. And at the time of the injury, it's like interesting perspective because I was ranked number 4 in America,
Hmm.
and after this fight, I was hoping one of my goals was I want to come out on top. I want to be number 1. I want to be number 1. So I'll still probably be chasing that. We see I'm not gonna be so hell bent on the ranking and all of that. But who doesn't want to say, hey, I'm viewed as the
Pretty sweet.
best. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Screenshot that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
And whether or not I am ranked number 1. I'm viewed as number 1. Is the same side of the coin. If you think I'm number 1, okay, I'm gonna go out and prove that. I'm gonna go out and defend that. If you
Yeah.
think I'm not number 1, okay,
I'm going
I'm
to
gonna
show
go
you
out
why you're wrong.
and prove right. You know what I mean? So, regardless, I'm just chasing a dream, brother. You feel
Hell
me?
yeah, man.
I love it.
Let's shift topic focus for a second. So I want to talk to you about some of these upcoming fights. I know you're a
Sure.
big MMA fan as well. You're not
Yeah.
only just training the sport, you're also watching it week by week.
Yes, sir.
So first off, what'd you think about last weekend's fight card? I mean, it was fucking sick.
Man, so on the obvious part, listen, Ilya does what he says he does. I I think he's probably the. Yeah, I'm not gonna have no recency bias, but I still would say he's probably the best fighter in the world right now. I can't deny that. Even I watch his film. Like I said, I'm watching Floyd Mayweather, et cetera, et cetera. I just skill is skill.
Yeah,
Almost like especially if it's like the lighter man skill that you could translate into the bigger guy. That's what they always say. He's a heavyweight that moves like a middleweight.
that's like
Well,
Aspinall. Yeah,
right, exactly. So that must mean the heavyweight must be moving like the little guy, seeing something from the little. So, I learned from him. I learned from plenty of guys. For anybody, I'm not gonna. It doesn't even matter if it could be my opponent. If I can learn from my opponent, knowledge is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So whatever I'm gonna take from that, to dish it out. So Ilya did his thing, but you know what? The fight that I was actually most excited for, and then obviously at the end of the day we're a competitor, and like I said, that upward trajectory was the opening fight of the prelim, the Alvin Hines,
yeah,
Janato
Denise.
Denise,
Yeah,
the heavyweights. I'm looking at that as okay. You know what? These guys stick around long enough. When I get there, I'm gonna fight one of these guys soon.
mm,
It's only a matter of time, bro. Anybody
yeah,
that's you could say from however young they are to what 31 years old, 32 years old. Anybody that's in the league right now, I could realistically fight shortly when I get there. if any, So I was looking at that more from the perspective of like scouting.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I thought they had a good fight.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun fight for sure. It was a good
I
way to
thought
start
it
the
was a
card.
fun fight, a good like kind of like a refreshing fight, for what you usually expect at heavyweight.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Yeah.
So that was my favorite fight. It might be like the super niche pick, but that was my favorite fight. It was the very first one. But I'm having bias towards. I want to see heavyweights, and I want to see them perform good. And I was like, oh, okay, oh, that's what you did in that scenario. All right, let me
Put that one in the bank.
let me put that to the bank. And
Yeah.
I'm already thinking ahead, brother. I'm already thinking ahead.
So what do you think about Ilya versus? Do you think they're gonna do Ilya versus Paddy? And if so, what do you think about that fight?
I think so because of the marketability of that. I mean, you had Paddy walk in the ring,
Yeah.
so I think okay, not even hey, are they gonna do Ilya versus Paddy? But if they're not, who are they gonna do? Ilya versus who? I think the answer to that is either you say Arman because
Yeah.
he had the shot before he called out, or Justin Gaethje. But Gaethje coming off of a win versus, and I'm not nobody to say anything like, oh, he doesn't deserve it. But if I had to pick between those guys, I mean, Armand, listen, he had the shot, he called out of the title.
Yeah.
Does that mean that automatically denotes him to have a title contender fight again? Does Paddy get to skip the line because it'll make more money?
Yeah.
Well, that's the business of things, and you got to take it 50-50. Listen, you are, if they're talking to Armand, you are the closest. You are you was next up, whatever it was,
And
6
I want
months
to
ago.
see that fight stylistically. I really want to see.
Yeah,
that.
listen, it'd be a good fight regardless. You are next up. You were next up, forgive me, 6 months ago, 100%. You called out on 24-hour notice. All right, that was a bold strategy, but you did that. They had to switch things around, so I'm sure he might not be in the necessarily best of graces with
Yeah.
them. But that doesn't mean that, okay, so now you got to fight 3 fights before. You know what I mean? We're not
I
going
hope
to
not.
root. You know what I mean? It's like don't do somebody super dirty unless you say he did them super dirty. It's all how you look at that. And listen, how you gonna tell me if I'm involved in that production? Hey, do the right thing for such and such. It's just gonna not put that extra $50 million in your pocket if we was to give it to. I'm sure there's a lot of people who like Armand. You bugging like
Yeah.
Patty is the fight to make right now in the eyes of. At the very
Marketing.
least, marketing. I'm sure in Europe they're gonna go crazy. That's gonna be the biggest fight of whatever. So I say it's probably between Patty or Armand. What you go with? You go with money, or you do the right thing.
Yeah. And I don't think it's. I mean, I think Armand deserves the shot more than anybody, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't be mad at seeing him fight Gaethje or fight Paddy for that matter, and see who wins out of this like trifecta here.
Yeah. So you would put them in like a title contender fight, and then have Ilya. See, my thing is that if you
Who's
do
Ilya
that,
gonna fight? Yeah,
if you do that, it's like we're shelving the biggest star in the UFC
that's
for
right.
what a year.
Yeah.
It's
If it was
like,
me, this is what I would do. I would do
Yes, sir.
Armand versus Paddy and Ilya versus Gaethje. And I'm not like souped on Gaethje getting a shot off of one win, but
Yeah.
I do rate the Rafael Fiziev win higher than the Michael Chandler win. For Paddy
Yeah.
Pimblett. And if the UFC's pissed off at Armand because he pulled out the night before, which I would be pissed too, rightfully so.
Of course.
Then I think they want him to get one more victory, and I want to see Paddy get smeared. So I mean, Paddy gets smeared by either Armand or Ilya, in my opinion. Gaethje, I kind of feel Paddy might win. He could win that fight, I think, if he takes him down. So I'd rather see Paddy versus Armand, but
Yeah, you think Gaethje could win? So you think Gaethje's wrestling would beat Paddy's jiu-jitsu?
no, I'm saying I think Paddy would beat Gaethje if they
if he
fought.
takes him down.
Yeah, so I don't want to see that. So I want to see.
Right.
Listen, I don't got anything personal against Paddy. I mean, I guess I do, but I want to see Ilya versus Paddy because I want to see Paddy get knocked out, and I think that Ilya could do that.
Now, bro, Ilya could do that to anybody, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
Ilya,
bro.
he's bugging. He bugging.
That shot he hit Oliveira with was crazy, And
Yeah,
I mean,
flat.
I've been picking
Flat.
Ilya like every fight, you know what I mean? Like I think the guy is a special talent. You're talking about, like you said, like I think he might be the best fighter in the world right now. It's either him or Islam, and ultimately that's the fight that I want to see. But I don't fault Islam for going up to 170. He's got his own dreams he wants to conquer.
Sure. He's got it. My look on that is a little bit niche. I feel like how can you fault from Islam's perspective,
Yeah.
or like my critique to Islam is like, how can you say like what was he saying? Ilya doesn't deserve it, right?
Yeah,
When he was before he moved up, he was saying, oh, Ilya would have to
fight a lightweight contender first.
How you gonna say he doesn't deserve it? But when you leave, you feel you deserve it at
Fair.
170.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I do think Islam at 55 had more of a legacy than Ilya at 45.
Yeah. He broke the record for the defenses.
Yeah. So if anybody deserved it more, yes, it would be you, Islam.
Fair.
I got that. But when you see what this guy, right now, you guys have the shared opponent of Charles Oliveira. When you see what he did to him and what you did to him, both you guys did what you did in good fashion, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't like the game of let's pretend like he can't be in consideration.
Yeah, I think also the big thing was that Islam had already beaten Volkanovski twice, so it was like I don't want to be the featherweight killer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think he wanted to like have Ilya establish himself as a lightweight, which now he has. So I mean, hey, listen, if Islam goes up to 170 and he beats JDM, which I think he could, I definitely think he could. We could talk about that fight if you want. And then now you have Islam as the 170 guy, and then Ilya goes up to 170 to fight Islam. Like that would be sick.
He does that.
Now that's a fucking weight champion if he wins.
If Ilya goes up to 170 and is chasing him, like I want you. You're not getting away.
Yeah,
you're not getting away. That's fire. Even regardless, win, loss, draw. You just want to see good fights.
Yeah,
but that
for sure.
That would be fire if he forces the nah, it's me. You got to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That like you were saying about me, right? That lore is and it's crazy. One moment, bro. You train for so long. You have all these moments. These guys have all put in years of work, only for the opportunity for one night to change the narrative, right? To push it forward, right? So congratulations to Ilya, but now where does Charles go from here? Right? Where you look at that as realistically his last chance for the title.
Yeah.
Right? Where you look at that as, okay, if it wasn't before, we're 100,000% at, the tail end of the career. Right? And so as one man is ascending, there's no you could say ascending, right? He's going higher.
Yeah.
As one man is ascending, another man is transcending. So it's like the poetry in it all. You know what I mean? I'm coming from that rap, from that musical, from that artist perspective. Is like I love it, man. I love it, and to see that, and then think about that for myself. Of like, I don't know as of right now which way it's gonna go for me, but I know it's gonna go. It's like, damn. Nah, it is, bro. It is like, damn.
Yeah, it's a dirty game, It's big winners and big
dirty
losers.
Game. Big winners, big losers, man. And that's it. And props to everybody. Charles is a legend in his own right.
For sure.
Ilya is a legend in his own right. So that's how I go. Legend versus legend. And it goes how it went,
Gaethje and not Gaethje, Holloway and Poirier. You think the winner of that should be in the mix here for the title as well? I mean, maybe the winner of that fight's Paddy Pimblett or Arman or somebody. I kind of feel like both guys should retire, honestly.
I think the loser retires. I know Poirier, this is his last fight, so he's retiring regardless.
Yeah, he said that, yeah.
I mean, so I suppose if Max was to lose, these guys feel how they feel. How you going to tell Max, yo, if you lose, you retire? 2 fights ago, you was fighting for the title. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two fights ago, if you would have won, you was the champ. 3 fights ago,
he looked
you had
amazing.
Yeah, 3 fights ago, you just pieced up Gaethje for 5 rounds, and you had the illest highlight ever.
Yeah, that was sick. Yeah.
On a card that had the second illest highlight ever, Pereira and Hill. You know what I mean? So it's like you said, big winners, big losers. So I wonder how everybody feels in those moments. Poirier Holloway. I'm not really too crazy on that matchup. You guys already fought twice. It feels like it's unfortunate, but it feels like this is how the picture has shaped up. Okay, Ilya's clearly over here. Arman and Patty and Gaethje are right on him. Hooker's out for a little bit, so we just got to do something with you two.
Yeah, and it is a fun fight, but I don't think either guy should have a huge claim to the title after it. Honestly, I feel like they should both retire. I feel like it would be a great moment because they fought each other when it was like both of their like second fights in the UFC, and then they fought for the interim belt like 7 or 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
And then now to fight again at like this late stage of their careers, I think it would be sweet for them to just kind of both raise their hands up, and I think it would be sick.
They both have that'd be the best case scenario. They both have a good fight. Regardless of who wins or who, regardless of who wins or who loses, maybe you want to see Max, even get his one.
I don't want to see it again. I got my heart broken already, like
it's like, and exactly like what you said. Okay, so what's gonna happen for Poirier's retiring regardless? So win, loss, it ain't gonna matter for him. He's out. Holloway, if he comes off, I guess win or loss, does he have to be matched up with Dan Hooker? Is that just it doesn't do much for your stock unless you get, clean knocked out. Mm-hmm. You're going to fight Dan Hooker when he comes back, and, you guys fight in December.
Have a crazy war again,
You guys just have a crazy war, But, yeah, as far as that 55 matchup, I'll probably put Ilya... Arman. I say Ilya Arman.
I would like to see it.
I say Ilya Arman. I get it that it's for the money and it's the fight we want to see, but you got to let things, play out. We're not gonna do people because I can't sanction that Ilya Patty, and then at the same time be a fighter and say like, hey, how can he skip the line, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you're gonna react until it's you, you're the number 8 ranked, and you're like, hey,
some guys
they love me, bro.
Shit that fucking moves up, yeah.
What you want to do? They want to see me, bro.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you still gotta earn it. That's cool. You could be the money fight. But 2 more fights, 1 more fight, whatever. And if those moments come out on top and you are who you say you are, you're going to fight him anyway. And this is going to be more. It's $50 million right now. And but if he goes out and knocks out Arman and you go out and you submit Gaethje, now it's $100 million.
Yeah. That'd be sick.
And that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
If you go out and you lose, he lose. Hey, that's how it went.
It is what it is. Ship sailed. Yeah.
Ship sailed. We didn't get to see Floyd and Pacquiao in their prime. Mm-hmm. We didn't get to see whoever in their prime.
Jones Aspinall.
Jones Aspinall, right? But listen, if it happens, it happens. But we got to do the right thing. It should be Ilya Arman, Patty Justin for the title contention.
That would be
my
sick.
Opinion. I'm just an amateur heavyweight.
Fair enough.
My opinion. But so if any of them guys see this, that's something that'd be funny to me. Like, yo, this is on media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is on the internet. Anybody could see this. Hey, yo, you said this for such and such. Yo, bro, I was an amateur heavyweight.
Yeah. That's why I always try to be respectful of everybody. But
of course.
I am a big Patty fan. Don't get me wrong. But
right,
I want to see this.
Like, yo, you said you.
Yeah, but this whole notion that the Scousers can't get knocked out, there's one person I think that could, prove that, and that's Ilya Poirier. So that's what I want to see. But listen, man, we're coming up on an hour here. I think we got plenty of footy in the tank. It's been a pleasure, bro. I appreciate you coming back on the show, man.
Bro, thank you, bro, and to the next time, and guys, Huss has been with me, like we said in the beginning, for over a decade. Real stand-up guy. Shout out to your brother too, also real stand-up guy. Stand-up family, man. You gotta keep people around you. Good support circle, and I support you, brother, and you support me, and to the top, bro. I can't wait to see when it's like you doing interviews. No, what's that? Not the interview. The journalist, like you asking the question at the press conference.
Yeah,
and it's you there, and we already got that connection. Yo, bro, get with me. I'm doing my exclusive interview with you, bro.
And you're gonna be on the press conference, so I'll be there, bro.
Gonna be a full circle moment,
Hell
bro.
Yeah.
We gotta get pics, we gotta get all that, and like I said, I'm doing my exclusive interview with TKO. That's it, bro.
I appreciate
you. Feel me?
Well, you got any plugs or anything you want to shout out before we wrap this up?
No, you guys already know. Shout out to my Instagram. You can check me out, TRADE M8 Arcade trademark. Shout out to my coaches, Richie Van Houten. Shout out to my bro, Marcel Ugu. Shout out to my guy at the gym, most lit UFC fighter we got right now, Mancher New Era Kara. Shout out to everybody, and shout out my boy Huss, man. Shout out to y'all for supporting and viewing and showing love. That's it.
I appreciate you, bro. I'm going to cue up this outro music, and we'll peace out the people. Alrighty, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Jake, for coming back on the show, man. We're expecting great things coming from you soon, you know. Heal up and get back in there, champ.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, man. Keep tuned for more historical pieces coming down the pipeline. I'm doing one on Jessica Andrade right now. I just put out the one about Robert Whittaker, Alexei Oleinik, and our other fighter interview with Basil Hafez. You know, stay tuned. We got plenty more coming for y'all. I appreciate y'all. Much love.